Well, welcome to Jefferson Liberty Radio, the voice of liberty in the Central Valley. I'm Matthew. Pat's back. Pat.
I'm back.
I'm glad to have you back.
Behind the microphone. Thank you, Matthew.
John's here. He's unfortunately not on a mic. Technical difficulties. I have his mic. Aaron's over there. He's also micless. We also have a special guest. But before that, I'd like to tell you about our sponsor for this episode. This episode of Jefferson Liberty Radio is sponsored by Owl Certified Safe and Lock. Owls offers locksmithing services and alarm systems for a range of applications, including burglary, fire, temper, medical emergencies, and much more. Owls has been locally owned and managed in Modesto for nearly 70 years, and with thousands of loyal and satisfied customers, you can be sure that Owls will not only meet but exceed your needs. For more information, call 1-800-700-4780 or go to owlsalarm.com. That's ALSALARM.com. Thank you so much to Owl Certified Safe and Lock for sponsoring our show. Pat, take it away.
Well, I'd like to welcome Charles Dossett to our podcast, Jefferson Liberty Radio. Welcome.
Awesome. Thank you.
Welcome, Charles.
I appreciate the invite.
Yeah. Charles, you're running for District 10 representative for the U.S. Congress. Is that correct?
That is true.
I did that right.
We technically filed our paperwork April 2nd to become a candidate, and then we started our committee last week. Mm-hmm. So we now have a campaign committee, and we're officially filed with the Federal Elections Commission.
Okay, very good. How is that nerve-wracking, or that's quite a process, isn't it? Or what is that like? Tell me just a little bit.
You just fill out paperwork.
No, that's it. Well, just never mind.
Yeah,
that's all. We don't need to go into it.
It was nerve-wracking, I think, making a decision to start the campaign.
Yeah.
Then trying to figure out how do you balance your life between being a business owner, being a husband, being a father, and then also being a candidate for Congress.
Yes.
That can be a little nerve-wracking.
I can only imagine that. I've led a very busy life, and I'm busy all the time. I can't imagine adding what you're adding to your life and on top of all of that.
I think it's worse on my wife.
Yeah.
I'm gone a lot now talking to people and doing these events, so she's like, "You're not home enough with our baby."
You got to get her out there and help you out.
Well, a lot of the events we go to, I bring my daughter because that 2 hours in the evening is all the time I get with her.
Yeah. That's good. That's good PR there, too.
Well, she's pretty, so
she's pretty.
But she's only this big.
I know. I saw her, and I saw your wife. Very, very beautiful.
And we just had
beautiful women in your life.
We had her first birthday on Sunday.
Oh, nice!
And so we had a big party, and
it
was amazing.
Very. So
I love the place called the Ice Cream Company over on Coffee or Oakdale.
Oh yeah, yes.
I didn't know it's a nonprofit, and they actually train people. But for my wedding and for that event, they made a special flavor of ice cream for us. So I love them to death. Bonnie's
very,
amazing.
Very good. Well, Charles, we're going to get into some questions to ask you. Since you're running, we'd like to let our audience know more about you. So you're running for District 10. Can you give us some background? How you got into politics? Who you are?
So my background in politics, I have no background in politics. And I think this is what makes me a strong candidate. I don't think politicians make good politicians. We need people in Congress and at least at the federal level who know what it's like to lead an everyday life, to run a business, to be a soldier, to be a veteran, to be a husband, father, people who have spent their life doing stuff for this country and doing stuff for others and producing and not electing just someone who sat on the city council and then sat on the board of supervisors or someone who was in the assembly and now they're in the federal government. I don't understand how that makes you a qualified candidate to lead our government.
Mm-hmm. So you're looking to represent. You want to be a representative, not a politician.
I want to use the word statesman.
Okay,
right?
That'll work.
I want to be a statesman, not a politician. I'm here to represent our district and all of Americans, actually. Obviously I'm a combat veteran, so I have a special place in my heart for combat veterans. I'm a business owner, so I have a special place in my heart for business owners.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to represent those two groups. Then I also want to represent everybody in District 10, in our district.
Okay.
I want to be...
We should be number one, though, right?
Yes, we're number one.
Okay, good.
But there is 23,000 combat or veterans in our district.
Oh gosh, yes.
And there's countless businesses in our district.
Yes.
And I'm tired of this, of what I'll call the leftist liberal media that, that
we know
seems
them.
like
we know them well.
They're hating on, business owners right now, and they're hating like Amazon. Amazon didn't pay any taxes. Amazon paid $2 billion in taxes last year.
Yes.
Well, I think we need to shop locally. Amazon is not the problem in America, right? The leftist liberal politicians, like our currently elected representative, that's the problem in America.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That is one of the problems, that's for sure. John?
So,
go ahead. Please,
how I got into this.
Please.
Well, I joined the military in high school,
mm-hmm.
and then I deployed to Bosnia
Commendable.
in 2002, and then I got selected into West Point 2003, graduated from the military academy in 2007, and I was a paratrooper at Fort Bragg 2008-09. I was in Iraq 2009-2010. I managed $130 million of construction with the Army Corps of Engineers. I built the largest clear span building ever built in the Middle East, 200 feet, column to column. I built an air traffic control. I designed and built an air traffic control tower to the U.S. standard in northern Baghdad. I went on 200 combat patrols. Came home, went back to, I volunteered for my third deployment. I volunteered for all three of them. And then I spent 7 months in Afghanistan planning counter IED missions. Came home, got out of the military in 2014, moved to the Valley, and then started our construction company in 2015. And my wife and I have now been running that for about 3 years.
Mm-hmm. So where are you originally from?
Well, I was born on Travis Air Force Base.
Okay.
My dad was in the Air Force. I was an Air Force brat.
okay.
So we moved around a lot. So we didn't really have roots.
Right.
Yeah, but I was born just north of here.
So you are a native Californian.
I am a native Californian, yep. And I came back after the
maybe
military.
Soon to be native Jeffersonian. John, did you have anything? Do you have a question for Charles?
You want to continue about yourself a little more, or
Is there anything more?
I mean,
I think I give you the gist on me.
Okay.
By the way, thank you so much for your service to
It
our
was
country.
my pleasure. I ask
definitely
everybody
appreciate that.
to, when they see a Vietnam veteran, shake their hand. Those guys, when I came home, everybody shook my hand.
Well,
and
we also got some information one time when we had Kevin Fox here. Do you know who Kevin Fox is?
no.
You should learn. We should introduce you to him because he's doing a lot of work for the veterans. He said to not only thank them but ask them how they're doing.
Yeah.
And that's where we need. Where we need to be.
When my generation of veterans came home, we were bought dinner. We were told thank
Yes.
you, and we had massive supports.
Yes.
And most of us volunteered to go fight this war.
Right.
The Vietnam veterans were sent there against their will most of the time.
Yes.
And then they were the enemy when they came home. I have so much respect for them.
Amen, brother. Awesome. That was my generation.
All right, so now to the hard
my
ones.
generation.
Now it's John's turn.
Now it's John's turn.
well, you and I have had
We had an
chance
amazing
to
conversation.
converse in the past, and I shared some of my personal ideas with you. Have you had a chance to review that information?
I did review it, and I thought about it.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're talking about the Reapportionment Act.
Right. So now that I've brought you up to speed, if elected, would you support a reapportionment of the House, since the last time that happened was 1929?
I would need to see more facts on the legislation. What are the financial costs, and what does it look like? And I think, as we talked a couple weeks ago, I don't support it expanding the House of Representatives. It's going to cost billions of dollars a year. Right now, the House costs about $2 billion a year to run. And so if we double or triple the size, now you're at $6, $8, $10 billion a year. And I don't want to bring in that debt. But if there's a way you can do it without bringing in, if we can keep it at $2 billion, I'd surely look at it. But I don't want to see us start to hire, 2,000 new staffers and 2,000 new lobbyists and all this other stuff. So yes, I'll look at the proposal, but I got to see what it's going to cost.
Right. Well, I mean, we need to get that out to the listeners so they know where you're at. My goal is to ask every candidate that we interview the same questions so that we have a fair playing field for all of you.
Oh, I appreciate it.
I
think it's a very novel idea, and I like your idea of trying to get better representation. I just want to know what the cost benefit analysis is.
Right.
Have we even looked into that, John? The cost benefit? Have you looked into that?
No, because in my opinion, we have precise delegated or enumerated authorities for the federal government, and representing us has the utmost importance. Would take precedence to me over what it would cost to be represented.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Once we were properly represented, in my mind, then those cost issues could potentially correct themselves. Now, I understand Charles's point where he's a numbers guy, businessman, and he wants to see that number. And I'm not discounting that. My own personal belief is if we had adequate representation, then and we were electing statesmen like Charles, who want to know what the bottom line is, who are concerned with that, then that corrects itself.
For the last
it would
probably 10 years, I've been saying the number one risk to our national security is our own deficit spending. I said this when I was in the military. I've been saying it since I've been out. And if we don't control how we spend money, we don't start making hard decisions, we're going to bankrupt ourselves and we're going to destroy America.
Well, true. That we all know that. That's probably that is a huge elephant in the room, isn't it?
Well, right.
I mean, gosh.
Because we have to budget ourselves in our homes and our businesses.
Yeah, and they don't in Washington.
And we have to have respect for Charles in saying that, hey, he wants to look at the cost of something before he supports something.
Absolutely.
Let's not be quick to jump on someone else's bandwagon because one candidate or the other says, what's the financial cost to us?
Right. Well, you got to be smart about your...
Right. If the financial cost is within reason, I believe that every candidate would support reapportionment.
Well, I think what I told you a couple of weeks ago was if we could go back to a part-time Congress or do a
novel
virtual
idea,
Congress
Charles,
and leave yourself running your business and you're in your district 99% of the time and maybe you only go to Washington to declare war.
Right.
Then I would be probably okay with with changing it to 800, 900, or 1,000 people. But I don't see to do this, you'd have to triple the size of the U.S. Or the office space in D.C. You'd have to triple the size of the state cap or the U.S. Capitol. So there's a lot of other things we'd have to look at to see what is it going to cost us to do that.
Right.
But if it's a part-time,
I know, which would be a really good idea. I want you to ask this question because I think you've got it down a little bit better than I do about the top two candidates.
Well,
the primary.
I'm kind of. I've already been filled in. Charles and I had, about an hour and a half conversation after he spoke to a group of constituents. He stayed after and spoke with me for a good hour and a half, and we have to respect him for that. He's willing to listen to us. And I already know the answer, but so that our listeners can know the answer, we in California have a top two primary system. We're going to be going into this primary next year with several members of one political persuasion and Mr. Harder of another. How do you feel about being involved in the top two primary? And do you think it's possible to primary the incumbent representative?
In primary him out of the race?
Correct.
I don't think it's possible because one Dem's going to run against a bunch of Republicans, right? So the Republicans are going to split the vote and the Dems are going to vote for the incumbent. So the chances of him losing in the primary are probably slim. So when I was actually at West Point, I had a boss of mine, a teacher of mine tell me, Charles, care about what's in your lane. And my lane is federal politics, not state level politics. So I'm not going to really care either way. It's the battlefield we play in, so it's the battlefield we're going to win in.
Okay. Right?
We'll win the race no matter what. If it's open, if it's closed, if it's two-party system, I don't care. We're still going to win. So I think it's
good attitude.
Do I think it's good politics? Probably not, but it's not in my lane, so I don't care.
Yeah, it's not going to.
It's not worth wasting my time on right now.
Right. We can't change that primary act top two candidate is just. Well, I won't go into what
Well,
I feel about
and
that.
the way I see this is for you guys to worry about, not me.
Okay.
I have to worry about running my race.
You're right. You're right. What do you have? What do you plan for District 10? Do you have some plans for how you're gonna handle some of the problems?
Well,
we
obviously, we have 3 big problems and 4 big problems, and they're more federal level. Well, I guess 1 is state level and 3 are federal level. We're primarily an ag community, water is probably our number 1 issue in the valley. And I don't think we've built new dams since 1950 or 1960. It's been almost 50 years. So we still have the same water capacity from when we had a third the population. We need to increase water storage. And I'm not sure what the federal government can do to help that, but we need to get more water storage up in the mountains so we have more saved up for droughts. Second is healthcare. 43% of our district is on some form of government healthcare. I think primarily expanded Medicaid is where most of them land. And I'm a compassionate guy. While I don't like big government, I do understand that people need help. And so we have to figure out, how do we rework this broken healthcare system? The Affordable Care Act isn't the answer. And so we have to figure out, how do we work that so we take care of our constituents? And obviously everyone's number one concern is their health. My sister-in-law lost her health care in 2004, I think, because she was too expensive because she had breast cancer. Back then, you weren't protected under pre-existing conditions. So she either capped out or she was just dropped. I don't know exactly what happened, but to me, it's just morally broken that we as society won't protect those that are needy. And, she did nothing wrong. She was carrying her 3rd child and she got breast cancer. So I feel, as good moral conservatives, we need to say, she gets protected. I'm going to pay a little bit extra to protect her. We need to come up with a healthcare, as conservatives, we need to come up with a healthcare plan that sells ourselves and sells our plan to the American people, but it's based on conservative values. We have to stop this push toward universal healthcare. It's not going to work.
It's not going to work.
And the other thing I talk about healthcare is I ask anybody I see, name one thing the federal government does great.
Yeah.
And name me one thing they've done to prove they deserve a 3.4.
Have you ever gotten an answer from that?
No. You want to give them a $3.4 trillion a year promotion. Name what they do well right now that proves they can handle that extra responsibility. They can't. I want everybody to have health care. I really do. Mm-hmm. I would love every American to have health care. Mm-hmm. But the government giving it to you is not going to fix it. It hasn't worked in Europe. It's not going to work here. We have what I call American problems. Right? We have American greatness, which means we work hard, we play hard, and we sometimes don't leave healthy lifestyles. So our healthcare is more expensive. And we also we are the world's protector. So we have the cost of our military that Europe doesn't have. Their style is not going to work here.
That's a good point.
Third is immigration. This is going to be a hotbed topic in our district because
Yes.
over 40% of our district is an immigrant, or they are Hispanic, and 25% of our voting block is Hispanic. And my wife's a Mexican immigrant. We got her citizenship in August. And
I bet that was wonderful.
So being a military guy, I love America. And when you put me in a pro-America room, it just fills my heart. And I have not seen so much love for America since I left the military as I did when I went to my wife's immigration ceremony. You had 900 people just screaming, USA, 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 I love America, USA.
Gives me goosebumps.
Oh, I was just like, I want to come here every week.
Yeah,
this is amazing.
I want to live here.
So
I want to live in this America.
Yeah, this is where I want to be. And these are the great people.
Right.
And I love the immigrant community, obviously, because I married one. And my daughter exists because of immigration, right? And so I want to fight
legal immigration.
Legal immigration. I didn't say illegal. I said
you didn't.
I just said immigration.
So
yeah, my
unfortunately, there's a difference today.
My wife's grandfather was a bracero, and through that process, over 30 years, the family moved here. And my mother-in-law, and my father-in-law both worked the farms and the canneries.
And I think I did read your red. What did you have? A red,
white, and blue immigration policy. We're getting there.
I think that's a really good. It was very interesting. And I think we got some you got some really good ideas.
So the problem with immigration, and that no one really wants to talk about, is the immigrant community is crucial for our employers in the Valley. Our farmers need a migrant worker program. If you look, not that Salinas is in our district, but I saw a report last week about Salinas. There's $50,000 in strawberries that aren't going to be picked in Salinas because they don't have the manpower to pick them. So some farmer just wasted $50,000 because he doesn't have a workforce. So while I disdain illegal immigration and I disdain, especially, I absolutely hate criminal aliens, I have to also look at this as from the reality point, which is our farmers need a migrant workforce to do the work that Americans aren't doing. So the red, white, and blue immigration plan I've come up with is it's a 15-year period, and in the first 5 years, you get a red visa, which means you are a temporary migrant worker. You can come here, you can do work in the Valley, you pay your taxes, you act like a good person, and after 5 years, you can move to a white visa. And that means you're a permanent migrant worker, which then means you can move your family here. You can put down roots, and then you work here for 5 years, and then at the end of that 5 years, then you apply for a blue visa, which is our current green card. I just liked red, white, and blue, so I renamed the green card to the blue card. And then at the end of that 5-year period, you can apply for citizenship. So there's 15 years, you're here, you're acting a good person, you're being a valuable member of our society, and you can apply for citizenship. If it was good enough for my wife and my mother-in-law and my father-in-law, then I think it's good enough for everybody. We need to go back to that. We need to go back to earning your way to be a U.S. citizen. And I think this allows it done. Now, with that said, I understand this plan has some risks. The first risk, obviously, is the fear that we're going to overtax the social welfare system. So anybody in a migrant worker status cannot apply for social welfare. You're here to take care of yourself and to help us out. So you're not here to drain our economy. So if you can't live here and provide for yourself, then you need to go back home, wherever that is. And second, and more importantly, this plan puts American workers at risk. And so what I want to do is I want there to be some kind of national website. It doesn't have to necessarily be ran by the government, but you have to post.
Well, please don't let it be run by the government.
You have to post a job where you want to hire a migrant worker somewhere, so everybody in America knows that job exists, right? Like if I need a carpenter, right, for my company, and I know that I'm not getting enough here, so I then have to post my jobs onto a national website for 30 days. So maybe someone in Pennsylvania knows there's a job in California, and they can make the choice to move here if they want, where it's Americans first. And then after 30 days, if no American takes the job, then you can open it up to a migrant worker. So we get a better immigration program, but you protect Americans first.
Wow. Excuse me. How did you come up with this idea? Did you?
Real life.
What's that part?
Real life.
Real life. Nice.
When you spend your life trying to run a business and trying to take care of America, you think things differently, and you want to do what's right for employers, and you want to do what's right for your family. And again, I think I like I said, my wife's a Mexican immigrant, and now she's a U.S. citizen, so I see it a little differently than most. But also driving through the farm fields, when I first left the military, I got a job with a consulting company, and I drove from here to San Juan Bautista to work on a job for 6 months, and every day I was driving through the fields. There was only Mexican workers out there. And we have to realize that our farm labor comes from Mexico, and we need them here to do those jobs.
Yes, that is a fact. That is a fact. I think you've done a lot of thinking about all of that plan. Was that 3 or was that 4? Then you said we had four
crime. The fourth is crime. So
okay.
we did a polling in December to try to figure out what our valley cares about. Because here's the reality. I'm your elected representative, or I want to be your elected representative. I got to know what you care about. And this, we think this poll is a little skewed because it closed like 3 days after Officer Singh was murdered. So crime was obviously way at the top end there. But we also do have homeless issues. We have we have drug issues. And then we do have murder issues. So we got to figure out how do we start helping our law enforcement out. My brother's a deputy sheriff in Indiana, And every day I fear, like, is he going to come home tonight? He was in a shootout about a year and a half ago, and he was probably 50 feet from death. Yeah, and so I just see our law. Every time I see a law enforcement officer, I shake their hand and I tell them thank you for your service, because they keep us safe at night. And we need a society that gives our law enforcement officer the respect that they have earned. And they earn it. Putting on their badge every day and putting on their uniform every day to go out and protect us, they've earned that respect.
Yeah, we need to value them.
Yeah.
Our first responders, for sure. That's a fact. So if you're elected, Charles, would you bring? Oh, wait a minute. Excuse me. So sorry. Obviously, I have questions in front of me. The jig's up, guys. Sorry.
Well, I think it's only fair. I mean, we have a better, intelligent conversation.
Yeah,
if we've thought about this before.
That's right. Well, good. Hey, one of the Second Amendment. Where how you feel about the Second Amendment?
So this is what got John and I to have a nice big argument and a very good 2.5 or hour and a half conversation.
I don't think it was an argument, though. I think we openly discussed our views on the subject, and my big thing, everybody knows, is we need to discuss these subjects, and we need to come to an understanding of where everybody stands on them in order to understand what they mean.
So my belief in the Second Amendment, I've had a concealed carry permit since I was 23 years old. I didn't bring my gun with me today, but normally I have my gun on me. I own 2 ARs, and I own probably 10 or 12 other firearms. I'm a big Glock guy. The guy who taught me to shot Glock, and I figured if it was good enough for a Green Beret sniper, it's good enough for me.
Good.
So I greatly love the Second Amendment, and I tell everybody you need to learn to shoot, but don't just shoot. Learn to shoot tactically. Learn to defend yourself. And so I've been teaching my 16-year-old niece how to shoot. If we were in the house, and I gave her an empty gun, and I showed her how to clear. I showed her how to disassemble it, how to make sure it's safe, and I showed her, how do you work from the holster, how do you draw, how do you stand, how do you, pistol grips, pistol stance. Well, I'm not the best teacher in the world, but I'm working on how do you actually use your firearm. So I'm a big supporter of the Second Amendment, but I think you can have reasonable restrictions on the right to firearm. Felons should not have firearms. I would think somebody who has been adjudicated as mentally incapable by a court should not have firearms, but it has to be by a court. Can't just be randomly, I decide that I don't like you, so
call in and say, I think she's crazy.
Yeah. It's got to be adjudicated by a court, because you're losing a right. So only a court can take your right away. Where I do think, and this is where John and I disagree a little bit, is I don't think true military grade weapons, the AR is not a military grade weapon, but explosives, things that go kaboom, I don't think we need those in the civilian world. I think the risk to that, could you imagine our cops if gang members had RPGs or machine guns?
Well, and in all fairness, I do agree that not everybody should, but my viewpoint is we have the right to. And we discussed that, did we not?
We did.
I understand, and I agree, not everyone should possess anything they want, but they do absolutely have the right.
Okay. Well, that's what the Second Amendment says, so we have that right. And
we have the right to disagree with each other
do.
on that.
Absolutely.
What one should or shouldn't have, can or can't have. And that's what makes us a great country.
Where I can't argue with you too much is Thomas Jefferson said you could have cannons. So one of our founding fathers said you could own a cannon.
Oh,
yeah, but they had cannons at the time. So we could do this for another hour and a half.
I do know people in Montana who have cannons. My father-in-law had a cannon. It was a little tiny one. It was just fun. It was just fun. And I think it happened. He shot it off on the 4th of July, and that was it. Just to let everybody know he wasn't a radical. Anyway, sorry, honey, for putting that out there. So there we go about the Second Amendment. We know how you stand on that. So that's good. If you're elected, will you have an open door policy? Will you maintain it? Constituents?
Well, the answer is yes, but the reality is it will be hard.
It'll be difficult.
I can't talk to 500,000 people in a year. I can't talk to 500,000 people in 2 years, right? So we will have an open door policy, but getting in to see me may be difficult just because of scheduling, right? And anybody who says, yes, you can come talk to me, they're lying to you, right? You're gonna have to be in DC. You're gonna be here. I mean, we can do our best and be as open as we can and go out to events and talk to people, and that's what I believe we have to do. But I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you and tell you can definitely come see me.
Yeah.
Because if I'm working 18 hours a day and I have an hour a day for constituents, or let's even say 8 hours a day for constituents, 30-minute meeting, that puts you 8 constituents a day.
We'll say 10 minutes a day. Oop, time's up. See you later. No,
and it's a very big.
kidding.
I want to be able to talk to everybody.
Yeah, sure.
But there are some realities and restrictions with time.
Right. Well, I appreciate your candor. That's very commendable. And so, do you support a state split? We are working for the state of Jefferson. I'm not sure that you know about the state of Jefferson. Have you done any reading
I've not
about
done a ton of research into it, but I've done a little reading into it. You want to fill me in real quick?
State of Jefferson is a movement to split away from California. What we have done is we have filed a lawsuit in federal court for lack of representation and delusion of vote. Our votes count, but they count far less than they do in the larger cities. Their wants and needs are way different than what we have here in the valley and up and down the rural areas of California. So thus we're trying to get better representation. We're trying to do that within a new state where we can start over. So that's where we are.
So I understand the disillusion. I really do. And I mean, we look at our representative
Delusion
right now.
or disillusion?
Disillusion.
Okay.
And I look at our representative right now. I mean, he said he supports 9-month abortion. He said he supports universal health care. I mean, this gentleman does not represent our district, our valley.
Not at all.
And how he won, again, no one really knows. But it's not who we are as the valley. And we're definitely not San Francisco or LA. Right? We're blue-collar, hard-working people. Like we were talking when I walked in, I just got back from my job site where I needed to run and get a shower because I smelled so bad I didn't want to stink you guys out of the room.
Thank you again for doing that.
So I get the desire that you want better representation. I just don't. I'm not sold yet on the idea that the state split's the way to do it. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you why. I think we can win California back. I think California is not actually a deep blue state. California is a purple state. But the problem we have is the Republicans have given up. And instead of splitting the state, let's start fighting for representation. Of all eligible voters in California, only 34% of them are registered Democrats. That means 66% of them are not in line with the Democratic Party 100%. We can win.
True.
We have to start fighting here, though.
Well, we have to do something about the ballot. What's it called? The ballot where you can.
You're referring to ballot harvesting.
I'm referring to ballot harvesting.
Charles has a view on that as well. I've heard it, but we'll let you share that with our listeners.
Ballot harvesting is something we are not happy about. Maybe you can go into that.
I agree with you. It's not the best way to play politics, but I'm here to win elections. So if I have to ballot harvest, I'll ballot harvest. I will do everything within the letter of the law to win an election. We can't sit here and say, I'm morally opposed to something, so I'm not going to do it, and then keep losing elections. What matters is winning. So if that's the rules, we win by the rules.
Absolutely.
Okay, I like it. Well, what is that?
I mean,
what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
You can't get into a fight with one arm tied behind your back and wonder why you got your butt kicked.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. We have to play by the rules of the game that we're playing in, or we'll never win that game.
I want to win elections, and so the way we win elections primarily, and this is one of the reasons why I'm doing this, is the Republican Party has to start talking to a broader base of voters, and then we start winning elections, right? If we win elections, we can then gain our representation back.
So that might lead me to my next. I didn't even think about this. Why are you running? Why are you running for?
Well, no one can see it, but I'll do it. I do this with everybody else.
Okay,
But
you're gonna
show you a picture of the most beautiful little 1-year-old,
your baby,
my baby, and
okay, that's why
I'm doing it for her. I spent 15 years fighting our nation's wars. Then I left the military and I stopped fighting for our nation. And when she came along, I realized that I wasn't doing what I was meant to be doing, which is fighting for our nation. Then after Mr. Harder won, our Representative Harder won the election, and he talked, like we said, 9-month abortion and universal health care. That's not the country I want. That's not the country I fought for. I fought against socialism. I don't think he's a complete socialist, but he's falling in line with some of those true socialists. And here's another funny stat. You know who has a better voting record, conservative voting record, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or Josh Harder? The answer is AOC. She votes with Republicans. She votes with Republicans more than Josh Harder does because she's so far out there. She votes against her own party.
like going full circle there. Yeah.
Yeah, because she's just, she's so far out there. She votes against her own party more than our representative who told us that he would not be a party man, but he's being a party man.
That's true.
And so we need to bring back the values that I think make America amazing, and we need to win elections so the country that I fought for and the country I grew up in is around for my little 1-year-old baby.
Good. Well, that's commendable. I mean, it is about the children. I hate to keep saying that cliche, just really always bothers me, but and because the other side does use it a lot, and I don't really think they care about it. And it shows with their the 9-month abortion act that they.
So I have a funny.
It's not really abortion; it's infanticide.
Infanticide.
I mean,
Very
let's
good.
face it. Our key rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If they don't ever allow you to have life, you can never have liberty or pursue any happiness. So what we have to decide as a nation is, at what point does life begin? Okay?
So I have an anecdotal about this, and I tell almost everybody I talk to. It's about my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law, Mexican immigrant, got her citizenship like 15 years ago. I didn't know, but she never voted in an election. In 2016, I was heading to the polling place to vote for Donald Trump, and my mother-in-law said she wanted to vote. And I was like, you can't vote. You're not a citizen. She goes, yes, I'm a citizen. I was like, okay, are you registered to vote? She said, no. I said, well, then you can't vote. Little did I know in California, same-day registration's a thing. But we went over. I went over and voted, and when I came home, I told her, okay, Grandma Cookie or Mama Cookie, you can vote. She's like, great. Who do I vote for? And I said, I'm not going to tell you that. That's like, no. She goes, great, Charles. Who do I vote for? And after like 15 minutes of this, I told her, Mama Cookie, I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but I'll tell you this much. If you vote for Hillary Clinton, you're walking home.
Nice.
And then, so she went to the polling place and she voted straight down the aisle because as we were driving there, I explained to her that I'm a conservative and I believe in conservative principles, and the Republican Party lines up with my principles 99% of the time. So I basically vote down the aisle. And she voted right down the aisle.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you that story, tell you this story. The next night, Univision ran a special on Hillary Clinton after she lost. And I guess they assumed she would win. So they had all these pre-built hour-long specials up. In that special, they said Hillary Clinton supports abortion 9 months. And Mama Cookie lost her mind. She's a Mexican Catholic.
Right.
And that is like the worst thing you could do. And I explained to the family that the basic Democratic platform is abortion on demand. I thought I was exaggerating, but I didn't feel like having a really long conversation with them, so I told them that. And 8 months later, or a year later, our new representative is saying, he supports abortion to 9 months. And New York and Virginia and Rhode Island are passing laws or trying to pass laws about infanticide.
Right.
And so this is the Democratic platform, and it's not who we are. Mama Cookie is an atypical Mexican immigrant. She's strong Catholic. She's strong religious. She's strong family values. She's strong in providing for her family.
Right.
And it baffles me on how the Republican Party has not figured out that you actually need to talk to the Hispanic community, especially those Mexican Catholics.
Yeah.
Because they line up with you 100% in value.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can win the Hispanic vote, we will never lose another election.
Right.
Texas has done this. Florida has done this. California has not. And the Republican Party in California needs to figure out how to talk to those minority voters.
We do have a problem with the Republican Party in California. I completely agree with you.
I think, though, with our new chairman of the GOP, I think she's going to make strides there. I hope so.
Well, how much of that attitude that the Republican Party has do you think is a misplaced ideal, a separation of church and state, where they don't want to bring religion into politics? But let's face it, our religious values should be reflected in how we come to a decision on what candidate would be best. And I believe our founders wanted that.
Well, I think your religion drives your morality. Then your morality drives your policy. So the two are not directly linked, but there's a line between the two, right? I'm not going to say the Bible says this, so I'm going to vote this. But I have my religious beliefs, and it drives my morality as a man. It will drive how I pass legislation. But there is a separation between church and state, but it drives my morality.
Right, but what I was trying to get at is, do you think that desire to separate the two, or the belief that we should have the two separated is what's keeping the Republican Party from, targeting the Hispanic community? I mean, and when I say Hispanic, I'm not just talking the Mexicans. We're talking the Guatemalans, the Cubans, the Portuguese. We have a very large Portuguese community that feels the same way as all Hispanics. And if we reached out to those people, we could absolutely take this state.
I don't know why the Republican Party has not done it. Again, I am the newest person into politics in probably Modesto. I'm not into the Republican system. I'm not into anything when it comes to politics. I'm just a small business owner and combat veteran. I don't want to try to guess on what the Republican Party has done in the last 20 years in California. I know it's wrong. I know we're not going to win elections that way. I don't know why they did it.
Well, there's a lot more to that Republican issue than I think you understand right now. I'll tell you about it, but I'm not going to tell you about it now. But I think right now, I think we're just gonna say thank you for being here, Charles. I really appreciate you coming and listening or telling us your story, and it's such a good story, and your life is very commendable.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. And John, thanks so much for spending an hour and a half with me the other night. And I mean, I think we're going to, like you said, we're going to build a great friendship.
We have to have those, like you and I talked, those relationships with our representatives or people in politics where we have like a most trusted status, a most respected status. None of this should be where we're afraid to talk to you, or you're afraid to talk to us, or Mr. Harder's afraid to talk to me, or I'm afraid to talk to him. We need to all be open and reach out to each other, because I believe communication and understanding is key to building the more perfect society that our founders envisioned.
Nice, John.
We
Very
definitely
well done.
need to work on the communication between both the left and the right, the middle and the right, and we need to come back together. We need to bring that bell curve back in, so we have more people talking about how we make America better.
I like
how
it.
we improve this country.
What a great way to end this program tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charles, for being here. Thanks, guys. By the way, I was a woman in amongst all of these handsome men, and wow, just should have been here. See you later. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
I just want to give a huge shout out to Charles for coming on our show. Appreciate the time that he took out of his schedule to come talk to us. Great interview. Really, really appreciate it. If you know anybody who's interested in sponsoring our show, or if you are interested in sponsoring our show, you can head over to jeffersonlibertyradio.com or email us at sponsors@jeffersonlibertyradio.com. We're always in need of new sponsors. We definitely can't run this without the support of you, our listeners, first, and then secondly, also our sponsors. If you're a listener and you'd like to email us, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love your questions, your comments, your feedback. Email us at feedback@jeffersonlibertyradio.com or via our website, again, at jeffersonlibertyradio.com. You can also give us a call, 209-214-8099. That's 209-214-8099. If you do leave a voicemail and you leave a question on there, possibility of it being played on the show is pretty high. So give us a call. Again, email, anyway, get in touch with us. Don't forget to subscribe to us in iTunes or your podcast player of choice. It really does help us, and you get the episodes downloaded straight to your phone. So if you're on our website listening to this, definitely subscribe to us so you get our weekly episodes. Leave us a 5-star rating on those places that you can, so iTunes, whatever podcast directory you have. We would really, really appreciate that, and it actually does help our ratings. You can find us on all of your typical social media, Facebook and Twitter, even some alternatives media such as BitChute and Gab. Our episodes are also up on Spotify, YouTube, and Google Play. Definitely check us out on all those places. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Jefferson Liberty Radio, and we'll catch you next time.